roars echoed inside an abandoned building. Jiang Xiaoyang was tied up and hung above a cage filled with zombies. Qi Jing called him. She stated that all his friends were dead and inquired if life wasn't meaningless for him already. He cursed because it was all his fault and he caused it to happen to them. He declared that Qi Jing was an evil woman and she deserved a miserable death. She remarked that they should look at Jiang Xiaoyang because he was angry at him, and Lai Shuxing asserted that they should torture him slowly to vent her anger. But they must thank him for the supplies, as they could live comfortably for a few months already. Jiang Xiaoyang was dropped into the cage. The zombies quickly charged towards him. He was helpless as the zombies feasted on him. If he had another chance to live again, he would make Qi Jing and Lai Shuxing pay for what they did. Suddenly, he woke up when Qi Jing called him and queried what he meant. She pressed why he hadn't added her name to the house deed and if he even loved her, and he wondered what was going on. He wondered if it could be that he had been reborn to the time before the apocalypse. In his last life, he was deceived by Qi Jing, and not only did she swindle away the inheritance his parents left him, but he also ended up homeless. Later, a global catastrophe occurred, turning most humans into zombies and plunging the world into chaos. With the help of friends he made while wandering, he built a safe zone and managed to survive the apocalypse. But no one would have imagined that the deceitful Qi Jing pretended to be a desperate person seeking refuge and won his sympathy. But she was actually sent by the enemy to destroy them. Back in the present, Qi Jing proclaimed that the bride price would be 400,000 yuan and not a penny less. She demanded if he heard her, and he considered that she was an evil witch. He realized that he can't act impulsively at the moment, while she informed that she will give him a week. He responded fine and he got it, so she should go. She wondered what was going on when he became so assertive, and if he wasn't her lackey. He closed the door behind him. He looked at his digital clock. With only a month left, he must start preparing immediately for the impending apocalypse. Suddenly, a system screen showed up. He got a mission named Apocalypse Preparation, where he is required to own a piece of land and prepare a year's supply of provisions, which has the reward of 10 points. Points could be exchanged for rewards in the system store. He wondered what those points could be used for. The system store contained a physical enhancement potion, a level 1 Apocalypse Farmer supply box, and a level 1 Protagonist supply box. Suddenly, his stomach rumbled loudly. He almost forgot that in his previous life, he skimped and saved every penny to gather Qi Jing's bride price, which left him malnourished. He went to pick up his phone. In a month, zombies will be everywhere, so while there is still good food, he should eat well. Time passed and evening came. He wondered if it was the legendary Michelin 3-star expensive takeaway. He should taste what a 300 yuan braised pork tastes like. He took a bite of the pork. He exclaimed that it was too delicious. He devoured the food in front of him. Suddenly, his phone started ringing. It was Qi Jing's friend, Wen Shuya, and he wondered if the manipulative woman cried to her little fairy friend. As soon as he picked up, she yelled and interrogated what he meant and how he could treat Qi Jing like that when she only wanted him to prove his love. She challenged how he could say that he loves her if he can't even give her his property, and she was just testing him, and he failed. But if he brings the house deed and 1 million yuan cash there to apologize, she might help him persuade Qi Jing. Otherwise, he should expect to break up. He posed who she believed she was and if she supposed she could test him and snapped that she should get lost. She was about to confront him, but he ended the call. He slumped on the couch and leaned his head back. He contemplated about owning a piece of land. He will build the strongest fortress on that land, not only defensible but also near a water source and forest. The next day, he went to a real estate company. Xiao Ning greeted him and probed if he was there to rent or buy a house. He replied that he was neither, but as he prepared to say what he was there for, he was interrupted when manager Zhu called Xiao Ning. He ordered that she should go help move the boxes in the back because they got a lot of toilet paper that day, but she insisted that she has a client to attend to. He grilled if he had forgotten everything he had taught her and if she had no sense at all and she should go work in the back. A broke loser in cheap clothes probably can't even afford a toilet, and Jiang Xiaoyang is that kind of client. Jiang Xiaoyang protested what he said and if he looked down on people. Manager Zhu retorted that he is a person who looks down on dogs like him, and if he could even buy a toilet, he would live stream himself eating shit. Jiang Xiaoyang glared at him but uttered nothing. Jiang Xiaoyang remarked alright and manager Zhu stated it, so he will make sure to find him some fresh, steaming hot ones later. He replied that he was not there to rent or sell a house that day. He was there to buy land. Overhearing him, one of the customers inquired if he even knew how much money buying land takes. Another customer observed that it was the first time he had seen someone buy land, while another commented that he is a real wealthy person and is a true big spender. Xiao Ning added, "Alright," and requested for Jiang Xiaoyang to come her way as she would give him a detailed introduction. Manager Zhu scoffed and noted that anyone could brag. But when it comes time to pay, he doesn't believe Jiang Xiaoyang will be able to come up with the money. Xiao Ning affirmed that it was the prices of land they currently have available, and he could look them over while she explained. Jiang Zhaoyang declared that there is no need for all that, as he will tell her his requirements, and she will see if there is anything that matches, to which she requested that he go ahead. He asserted that it would be near mountains and water, preferably with running water and with convenient transportation. Ideally, it should have factories or large buildings on it. Xiao Ning mentioned that he should let her think. Manager Zhu chimed in and queried if there wasn't a piece of land in the East District that fit Jiang Zhaoyang's requirements, and as she probed if he was talking about the T-City land, she uttered that it wouldn't work because the factories there were all unfinished projects. It was unresolved and couldn't be sold to clients. He wondered what she would sell and exclaimed that Jiang Zhaoyang is a broke guy who has such outrageous demands, so he was not there to buy land. He was there to cause trouble. Jiang Zhaoyang pressed if that piece of land in the East District really does meet all his requirements, and Xiao Ning expressed yes, but the factories on it are unfinished, and the construction team leader ran off. He considered that the location was great and it met all his needs. Putting up barbed wire will make it easy to defend, and the unfinished factories will save him a lot of cost and time. He will take the land, and as he queried if they could immediately sign the contract and make the payment, she apologized instinctively. She was surprised when she realized it. She inquired if he really wanted to buy the land with the unfinished factories, and he responded yes, of course. They should sign the contract and make the payment quickly because someone is waiting to eat some fresh poop later. Manager Zhu objected no, it was impossible, and couldn't be. It was a 300,000 yuan down payment, and as he queried how someone could spend millions on a piece of land with unfinished factories, he repeatedly indicated that he didn't believe it. Jiang Zhaoyang answered that he had made the payment, so it was his turn to perform, and as long as he enjoys it, he will send him a super chat later. One of the customers called him fatty and voiced that he had turned on the live stream for him, so he should hurry up. Another informed that his stomach was not feeling well that day, but he promised it would be fresh, while another maintained that he had lobster the other day and demanded if he wanted some. The system task was updated, and Jiang Zhaoyang owned a piece of land. He spent all the bride price money on buying land, so he needed to figure out a way to get money to stockpile supplies. Suddenly, Lai Shuxing recognized him and wondered what he was doing there. He was surprised when he saw Manager Zhu. Manager Zhu implored for help and opined that he didn't want to eat poop, and he interrogated what they were doing. Meanwhile, Kui Jing was doing her nails. Suddenly, Lai Shuxing called her. As she picked up the call, she conceded that he was a rascal and revealed that he still remembered her. But he quizzed if she knew that Jiang Zhaoyang came to the real estate company that day to buy land. She was surprised and inquired where he got the money, and Lai Shuxing proclaimed that it was a 300,000 yuan down payment, so he guessed it must be the bride price money he saved. She speculated that he was a bastard and challenged him for daring to use her money. Lai Shuxing sighed that she shouldn't get mad and go find him to ask what was going on, but she canvassed what she would ask when he had turned the tables on her and actually used her money, so she would definitely expose him online that day. On the other hand, Jiang Zhaoyang pondered that buying supplies and building a base required money, so he wondered where he should get it from. Suddenly, someone knocked on his door and he wondered what the heck happened. When he opened the door, he queried what Kui Jing and Wen Shuya were doing there, and Kui Jing pressed what he meant and demanded him for daring to spend her money. He inquired what she was talking about. She relayed that he shouldn't think that she doesn't know that he used the bride price money to buy land, and she is telling him that the bride price money is hers, and since he bought the land, it was hers. He queried if she was insane. He would tell her that he has plenty of money, but he won't spend a single cent on her, and she shouldn't think that he doesn't know about her and Lai Shuxing's affair. She wondered what was going on and how he could possibly know about her and Lai Shuxing. Wen Shuya chimed in and cautioned that the two of them should calm down because it was just a misunderstanding between a couple. But Jiang Zhaoyang countered that there is no misunderstanding and Kui Jing is not his girlfriend, as she is with that old man Lai Shuxing. He chirped that Kui Jing should get lost because just looking at her annoys him, and she wondered how he knew about it when they were always very discreet when they booked rooms. Kui Jing and Wen Shuya went to the elevator. Wen Shuya elaborated that it was a big deal. She queried why she didn't tell her in advance, and if she really got involved with the middle-aged man Lai Shuxing. Kui Jing emphasized that they just booked rooms a few times. Wen Shuya whispered that the situation was out of control, so they should go back and think of a plan, to which Kui Jing agreed and muttered that it was all they could do. The elevator opened. Wen Shuya reflected that since Kui Jing messed things up with Jiang Zhaoyang, she was not going to hold back because they are good sisters after all. The next day, Jiang Zhaoyang recounted that it was the factory he wanted to renovate, and posed how long it would take to complete. He has hired the Paru construction company to work on his land. Foreman Lai insisted that they would reinforce the walls, build guard towers, install Texas barbed wire, thicken the steel blast-proof doors, and add bulletproof tempered glass, etc. He inquired if he could ask which force he had offended, but he lamented that he shouldn't ask too much because knowing too much won't do him any good, so he should just tell him how much it will cost to complete the work in a month. He relayed that it can't be done in a month, and Jiang Zhaoyang acknowledged that he should stop talking because if he doesn't do it, there are plenty who will. But he confirmed that Paru's lives matter too, and Jiang Zhaoyang wondered if he actually has a conscience as a foreman. He reasoned no, and what he meant is that it will cost more. Jiang Zhaoyang bellowed that he should name his price, and he explained that if they have to finish in a month, he will need Paru to work intensely, so it was at least that much. Jiang Zhaoyang queried if it was 20 million, to which he assented yes, and he needed to give them a 5 million yuan deposit first so they could start working. Jiang Zhaoyang agreed and pledged that he would transfer the money to him within a week, so he should start the work immediately, but he hesitated. Jiang Zhaoyang promised that it was okay and he shouldn't worry about him not paying because if he doesn't pay, that land is his, to which he reluctantly agreed. Suddenly, when Shuya called Jiang Zhaoyang, she inquired what he was doing there. Jiang Zhaoyang considered that it was the green tea witch, and in the last life, she and Qi Jing scammed him out of his family fortune, so at that time, he will make her pay back double. He interrogated what she was doing there. She quizzed if it was the land he bought and uttered that the scenery was so nice. She examined if he was planning to build a villa there. He remarked that what he was building is none of her business. She wondered what was going on and reflected that the loser Jiang Zhaoyang was acting strange that day because normally, just touching her hand would make him blush and his heart race, and she even deliberately showed off a bit, but he had no reaction at all. Jiang Zhaoyang turned his attention to the workers and repeatedly declared that it was not right as the gate needed to be expanded, which enraged Wen Shuya. She mused that there was no way, and she couldn't miss that golden opportunity because since Qi Jing has fallen out with him, if she could push her out, the land would be hers. A few moments later, pawning the house to the bank only got Jiang Zhaoyang 3 million yuan and is not enough to recover the first phase of construction costs, so he needs to find a way to get more money. He realized that the apocalypse is imminent anyway, so even if he sells the house to multiple people, it doesn't matter. He should do it. Suddenly, Grandpa Lai knocked on the door and repeatedly stated that he should open it, and he cursed as he contemplated that it was the old man again. His downstairs neighbor, Grandpa Lai, has some money as he owns the first and second floors, and he wanted to buy his third floor as well, but he originally intended to use the house as his marriage home, so he refused to sell it. Since then, the old man has been making trouble, painting his door, piling up trash, placing funeral wreaths, and jamming the lock. He used all kinds of dirty tricks. As soon as he opened the door, Grandpa Lai yelled and replied that he was out clubbing again last night. Jiang Zhaoyang responded that he had had enough already as he went to bed before 10 last night, and he wasn't clubbing, but he noted that he didn't care as he clearly heard. Jiang Zhaoyang informed that he should stop it because he is just eyeing his house, and he has had enough, so he will sell it to him. Grandpa Lai investigated if it was real. Jiang Zhaoyang conveyed that he had a condition, and he inquired what it was. Jiang Zhaoyang asserted he won't hand over the house until 6 months later, so he needs to live there for another 6 months. But before that, he needs him to transfer 5 million yuan to him in one go so he could pay off the mortgage for his new house. If he doesn't agree, he should forget it. Grandpa Lai voiced fine, but they needed to sign a contract to prevent him from backing out, and he affirmed that the contract was not a problem, so he shouldn't worry. He laughed as he perceived that the old bastard could just wait to die in his house. Once Grandpa Lai's 5 million yuan is transferred, plus the 3 million yuan from the loan, he will have 8 million yuan. First, he should complete the task and claim the reward. A few moments later, Jiang Zhaoyang went to the supermarket. He was preparing for a year's supply of provisions, and he was at 365th. One of the customers challenged if he was mentally unstable, and the girlfriend affirmed that they should quickly stay away from him. He rolled his cart into another one in front. Everyone watched as he gathered a cluster of full carts. One of the customers queried why he was buying so many, and another customer acknowledged that he was another fool who believes in doomsday rumors. The system notified him that the task was completed, so he earned 10 system points. He clicked his tongue as he reasoned that in the apocalypse, enhancing attributes is important, but the protagonist's supply box is exactly 10 points. But there was no need to hesitate. He should grab the first opportunity to go all in and choose the protagonist's supply box. The exchange was successful, so his current points were 0. He got a level 1 space ring that contains 500 m3 of space where time stands still. He knew that the first draw is always golden. Time stands still inside the space, so that means that even if he stores fresh goods, they won't spoil, which is great. The system notified him of the new mission, 10 years of sustenance, which has the reward of 20 points. Suddenly, Yang Tao sought who was causing trouble. If it was Jiang Xiaoyang. Jiang Xiaoyang recognized him. He was his high school classmate who was a lackey following the school bully Zhang Sheng, and he is a guy who always bullies the weak and fears the strong. They had many conflicts in school, so he didn't expect to run into him there, and he remembered the past when Yang Tao claimed that last week's protection fee was 10 yuan, so he should hurry up and pay. But he mentioned that he would pay his ass, and if he wanted, he should let Zhang Sheng come himself. Yang Tao raised what he was doing and explained that he should put those things back where they belonged, or else he would be unkind to him. Jiang Xiaoyang scoffed and insisted that he was still bullying the weak and he was there to purchase items. He scrutinized if that was how MANWHA treats its customers. Yang Tao insisted that if he was there to purchase, he should pay for those items immediately, or else he shouldn't blame them for being rough. An hour later, the receipt from the purchase was being printed. The cashiers were all working on scanning Jiang Xiaoyang's purchases. Yang Tao probed how much the total was, and the cashier retorted that it was 56,883 yuan. He argued that Jiang Xiaoyang should check out. Jiang Xiaoyang aggressively swiped his card. The machine beeped and notified them that the transaction was successful, and Yang Tao clicked his tongue. He maintained that they should go, but Jiang Xiaoyang emphasized that they should hold on. Yang Tao explored what he was doing. Jiang Xiaoyang expressed that he was rude earlier, so he must apologize. Otherwise, he will return all those goods. Yang Tao observed that he was going too far and surveyed if he was looking for trouble. But one of the customers commented that they looked down on Jiang Xiaoyang and were so rude, and he was only asking for an apology, so it was not too much, to which another customer agreed and indicated that he should apologize because if he doesn't, they were not leaving either. Another customer proclaimed that TikTok is recording, so he should apologize or he will make him famous. Jiang Xiaoyang added that he should apologize, and if it was sincere enough, he would buy 10 times as much. Yang Tao doubted him, so he opined that he should bring him the POS machine, and he would show him his balance. Yang Tao was surprised when he saw that it was 700,000. Jiang Xiaoyang countered that he should apologize and he will keep buying, and if he was lying, he is a son of a witch. Yang Tao gritted his teeth, and he nervously believed about it. He agreed and instructed sorry. Jiang Xiaoyang advised that he should remember not to be so reckless in the future and leave some room and broached if he got it. Yang Tao politely delved what he was buying so many things for, and he promised that it was none of his business as he was planning a big deal. Yang Tao conceded that if it was a big deal, the stuff in the supermarket warehouse won't be enough, so he will need to find a wholesaler. Jiang Xiaoyang muttered that since he works at the supermarket, he must know some wholesalers, and he yelled, of course. He tested if he remembered Zhang Sheng and ordered that he was in the wholesale business at that time. Yang Tao immediately called Zhang Sheng and guaranteed that he found a big client, and Jiang Xiaoyang surmised that he was still working for Zhang Sheng, so he wondered how much gray income they pocketed from the MANWHA supermarket. A few moments later, Yang Tao brought him to a warehouse. Suddenly, a car came speeding. The car stopped abruptly just before it hit them, which made Yang Tao jump from where he was standing. Jiang Xiaoyang reckoned that Zhang Sheng was driving so arrogantly that he must have never been scammed before. Zhang Sheng came out of the car and let out a puff of smoke from his cigarette. He speculated if it was the big client he mentioned, and Yang Tao demanded if he remembered Jiang Xiaoyang. Zhang Sheng pressed who, and he exclaimed that it was their high school classmate Jiang Xiaoyang. He suggested that he already remembered. Jiang Xiaoyang glared at him as he let out his smoke on his face. He elaborated that it was the guy with a bit of a backbone. Zhang Sheng challenged if he was wearing a fake brand. He scoffed and remarked that he despised people like him who pretended to be rich but were actually broke. But Jiang Xiaoyang stated that he didn't know the brand because he just bought it from a street stall. Zhang Sheng interrogated if it was the big client he mentioned and cursed because it was wasting his time. Yang Tao replied that Jiang Xiaoyang really is a big client, but he kicked his ass and declared that he has been in the business for years, so he could tell who is rich and who is not at a glance. Jiang Xiaoyang scoffed and commented that it seems his aura is really lacking because he can't even intimidate an illiterate who looks down on people. Zhang Sheng scrutinized what he observed. Jiang Xiaoyang noted that he looks down on people, and he pressed him for daring to call him illiterate. He queried if calling him a snob was okay. Yang Tao chimed in and retorted that he shouldn't hit Zhang Sheng's sore spot because he really is illiterate, and he hates being called that the most. Zhang Sheng responded that he should screw off and he should shut his mouth if he couldn't talk properly. He wondered if he was a big client and explained that if he didn't buy a whole carload of goods from him that day, he would be going back on 4 legs. Jiang Zhaoyang asserted that he should stop pulling his collar and show him his account number. A few moments later, Jiang Sheng's doubted if he was serious that $1 million just transferred, and he added, of course. He probed if he considered he was there to play games and indicated that it was the deposit, as he wanted to buy $5 million worth of goods, so he should get someone to load the truck, and he would pay the remaining $4 million once the goods were ready. Jiang Sheng's queried what kind of goods he wanted, and he specified rice, oil, salt, snacks, drinks, anything edible or drinkable. He would take it all. Jiang Sheng's voiced that he should come with him and pondered that he didn't expect to get so lucky, as he just got a batch of near-expiry food, and there is a fool there to take it all. A few moments later, he reiterated that if Jiang Zhaoyang takes that batch of goods, he will give him a 10% discount on the original wholesale price and inquired his opinion about it. Jiang Zhaoyang affirmed that it depends on the quality of the goods. He inspected each item. He maintained that except for the outermost layer, the inside is all near-expiry food, so he was quite the schemer. Jiang Sheng's cursed as he didn't expect him to know his stuff, so he offered to give him a 50% discount if he took all the near-expiry food. Jiang Zhaoyang expressed that there was no need because his $5 million is for buying the best quality goods. As for his near-expiry food, he had other plans, and Jiang Sheng's queried what the plan was. He conveyed that he will take all his near-expiry food for 50%, as he repeated, but the payment will be settled a month later. Jiang Sheng's pressed if it was real and what would happen if the goods were all expired by and he didn't pay him, and he assured that he shouldn't worry because he would mortgage his house to him. He interrogated if he could tell him his channel because he knew they were near-expiry foods, yet he still wanted them, but he clarified that there is no channel and he is the channel, not just near-expiry food. Even expired food will be worth a fortune in a few days. Jiang Sheng's probed what he meant. He stated that he shouldn't ask too much and just deliver the goods, as he will send him the address shortly. He picked up a call, and as the old man inquired if it was Jiang Zhaoyang, he pressed who was asking, and he queried if he was selling a second-hand house. He proclaimed that he has other things to do, so Jiang Sheng should get the food sorted out first. Yang Tao doubted if he set him up, and he cursed and probed how Jiang Zhaoyang managed so well when his family was just average. A few moments later, the old man stated that it was the 400,000 deposit. He could accept his condition of vacating the house in 3 months, so they should quickly sign the contract. Jiang Zhaoyang reflected that the old man didn't even check the house carefully and wanted to pay the deposit and sign the contract, so he wondered how desperate he was to buy his house and inquired why he was in such a hurry. The old man sighed and explained that, to be honest, his granddaughter needed to transfer schools, and they urgently needed the house for residency, and he had been circling the area for days, and only his house was for sale, so he requested that he not back out. Jiang Zhaoyang observed that the old man was too honest, telling him everything right away, and he challenged if he was not afraid that he would raise the price. The old man pleaded and declared that the house money was all their family's savings for 2 generations. Jiang Zhaoyang promised that he shouldn't worry because he won't back out. He signed the contract. The old man repeatedly reiterated that it was good. He will let him get back to work and won't bother him anymore, to which he agreed and added that he should take care. Jiang Zhaoyang mused that he and his granddaughter probably wouldn't survive a month in the upcoming apocalypse as he was living at the bottom, being kind and honest. He stated that he should wait, and as the old man inquired what it was, he responded that he should give him his current address. The next day, Jiang Zhaoyang went to visit the construction on his land. Foreman Lai brought up the second payment, and as he mentioned that he would transfer it to him shortly, he queried how the construction progress was. Foreman Lai replied that it was about 70–80% completed and he should look at the wall as the door is absolutely secure. He pressed about the warehouse, and he explained that the warehouse is an abandoned factory building, cleaned up and ready to use anytime. Jiang Zhaoyang affirmed that it was very good, so he called Jiang Sheng and requested that he should start delivering the goods. A few moments later, one of the workers repeatedly urged that they should slow down. One of them remarked that Jiang Zhaoyang was so generous, giving them 2,000 each for that work. Another commented that he was really turning that place into a bunker, and another observed that he won't get it because rich people cherish their lives. Jiang Zhaoyang directed that they should store fresh produce, fruits, and vegetables, those perishable items, separately and not mix them up, and one of the workers acknowledged that he got it and it was no problem. Evening came, and the workers were going home. Jiang Zhaoyang looked up at the pile of goods he had accumulated. He declared it was done. The system notified him that the task was completed, and he got 20 system points. He informed that new boxes have been added to the system store. The level 1 ability Awakening Supply Box was added, and luck is on his side for getting abilities before the apocalypse. The system notified him that the exchange was successful, so he currently has 10 points. He got the level 1 Mind's Eye. It could detect hostility and is one of the most useful abilities in the early days of the apocalypse. The system notified him about the new task, Battle Ready, which requires him to arm himself with the reward of 10 points plus a random reward. He exclaimed that it was exactly what he had in mind.
Late at night, Jiang Xiaoyong drifted through the black market. One man cursed and demanded whether it was genuine or fake, and another scoffed that only an amateur would worry about authenticity at that price. He shouldn't be asking about real or fake. Another cursed, and someone else hushed him and insisted it had just been dug out of Ma Wangdui the other day, so he should keep it down. But the first man pressed whether it was the first emperor's childhood war helmet. Suddenly, Li Shuxiong piped up that he wanted it cheaper, $300, and the merchant shot back. Who haggles like that? Li Shuxiong declared a high-ice jade bracelet priced at 2,000 was clearly fake, so he should offload it to him for 300 and still pocket a tidy profit. He demanded whether it was a deal and made clear he wasn't leaving, so the merchant relented, warning he just shouldn't shout because it was his. Jiang Xiaoyong mulled whether the bastard Li Shuxiong had come to the black market to buy a fake jade bracelet and figured the witch Guijing was dumb enough to be fooled by such garbage. Suddenly, his gaze snagged on the swords lined up on a stall. He realized he had found it. He inquired of the merchant whether he had any hard stuff there. The merchant waved the item off as a knife sharpener and suggested if he wanted something hard, he should buy it and sharpen it himself, but if he minded that he should get a baton. Jiang Xiaoyong declared none of those were hard enough and that he needed something tougher. The merchant probed what he meant and whether he was there to cause trouble. Suddenly, his phone buzzed with a notification that 200,000 yuan had been credited into his account. Jiang Xiaoyong cautioned not to get agitated because he is serious about buying. The merchant then motioned to Zhao Xiang, indicating he should come and watch the stall. He then leaned in, whispering that talking outside isn't convenient, and beckoned Jiang Xiaoyong to come that way. A few moments later, Jiang Xiaoyong was brought to a house. The merchant offered homemade guns good for shooting chickens for 2,000 yuan, mentioning cheap ammo, just gunpowder and steel balls, and then queried what he thought, but Jiang Xiaoyong declined. The merchant was speechless. He then proposed replica revolvers almost as good as active-duty handguns for 5,000 yuan, which fire 9mm rounds, promising bullets at 5 yuan each, and then pressed whether it was a deal. Jiang Xiaoyong allowed it was barely acceptable, but noting he had prepaid him 200,000 yuan, selling him that junk isn't appropriate. The merchant probed what prepayment it was. Jiang Xiaoyong explained it was a 10% prepayment since he wanted to buy 2 million worth of weapons. The merchant demanded to know who he was to bring such a large order to him, and Jiang Xiaoyong replied he hadn't handled those trivial matters before, his subordinates did, and some changes had happened recently. But the merchant shouldn't pry too much. He should just say if he could do it or not. The merchant signaled him to wait a moment. He quickly locked the door. He turned off the lights and cautiously peered through the curtains. He then announced he had found the right person. He could handle that, so the merchant instructed he should write a list, promising to give him the address, and at midnight, the day after tomorrow, he should drive there to complete the transaction, bringing cash. A few moments later, the merchant remarked that Jiang Xiaoyong ought to tread carefully. Suddenly, Li Shuxiong blurted if it wasn't Jiang Xiaoyong. He commented that he didn't expect to run into him in the black market, figuring it explained why he had been throwing money around and brushing off Guijing lately, since apparently his family still held a few heirlooms. He pressed if he had been watching too many marketing accounts lately, trying to slack off, cash out everything, and coast through life. Jiang Xiaoyong decided it was a good time to test the freshly gained ability. He triggered his mind's eye. He noted with satisfaction that it worked just as impressively as promised. He then replied that he was indeed lying flat. And while teasing if he duped Guijing into bed with all those knockoffs and used goods, he remarked that it figured. She was just his used goods and only worth that little. Li Shuxiong snapped and demanded what he just said. The merchant turned to Jiang Xiaoyong and inquired if he knew him, and he answered that the guy was more like an enemy. The merchant nodded and said he understood, telling him to go take care of his business since he'd handled teaching the guy a lesson. And Jiang Xiaoyong warned them not to kill him because he still had plans for his miserable life. Li Shuxiong barked at the men, asking what they were up to and tossing out a warning. But then he shifted tone and suggested they talk it out. A few moments later, the merchant shoved him down onto the ground. Li Shuxiong gritted inside that the bastard Jiang Xiaoyong should just wait and see. 2 days later, Jiang Xiaoyong arrived at the address the merchant provided. A truck sat there, loaded to the brim with firearms. The system chimed that his task, Battle Ready, was complete. He received an extra physical enhancement potion as a bonus reward. He wondered aloud if that meant an additional physical enhancement potion on top. He grinned that it was even a +2 version, double the one available in the store. He snatched the syringe and lifted it high. He groaned through clenched teeth as the liquid burned through his veins. He noted that the average adult male's physical score sits at 5, and adding 2 points meant roughly a 40% strength boost. He then flicked open the system store. He reasoned that he might as well push the edge further. A few moments later, he realized his physical stat hit 8, giving him 60% more muscle than a normal guy, so it was time to find a test subject. He then concluded that he had just the idea. He grabbed a steel bar. He kicked it hard. It bent in half and slammed into the wall with a crash. He remarked that, as expected, with his current power, he was no easy opponent even unarmed, so even early apocalypse zombies wouldn't make him flinch. Those weapons wouldn't eat much space anyway, so better to tuck them safely inside the spatial ring. The spatial ring drew in every last weapon. He commented that the day after tomorrow marked the first day of the apocalypse, then mulled over what else still needed doing. He remembered the old man who mentioned his granddaughter had to transfer schools, and they desperately needed that house to register residency. So he had been circling that neighborhood for days, with only his place on the market, pleading that he not back out. He knit his brows. He muttered that even after living through life and death in the apocalypse, it was still tough to ignore those down on their luck. He would send over some survival essentials for the apocalypse, and whether they lasted long would be up to them, counting it as repayment for the funds that helped kickstart his apocalypse plan. Jiang Xiaoyong cruised through the narrow streets until he reached the old man's apartment. He silently thanked the GPS, figuring no ordinary soul could ever track down a place like that. It seemed the old man really wasn't doing well, living in such a shabby top-floor rental that looked like it could fall apart any day. He knocked on the worn-out door, but then he realized he should probably take out the supplies he brought first, or explaining things later would just be a hassle. He flicked on his spatial ring. The supplies shimmered into existence right beside him. Meanwhile, the old man's voice floated out, telling him to hold on for a moment because he was coming. He mumbled something about the rent again, promising he'd settle it next week. But when he opened the door and spotted Jiang Xiaoyong, his eyes went wide in surprise. He demanded to know what he was doing there. Jiang Xiaoyong told him he'd clear that up later, but they should haul the stuff inside first and fast before any nosy neighbors poked their heads out. A short while later, the old man puffed and chuckled that young people sure had energy, lifting all that weight in one go without even breaking a sweat. Jiang Xiaoyong remarked that the room looked decent enough and that the front door could take a solid hit if needed. He told the old man to pay close attention, saying those supplies could last about 6 months if he used them right. But then his eyes caught a framed photo, and the old man noticed his change in expression, asking what was wrong and why he couldn't just stash those things here since they'd be moving in a month anyway. He stayed quiet, staring at the picture of Meng Shanshan, instantly recognizing her face. He knew exactly who she was. He asked the old man if his granddaughter's name was Meng Shanshan, and the old man blinked, wondering how he knew since he hadn't mentioned her name. Jiang Xiaoyong pressed, asking where his granddaughter was right then, and the old man replied that she was at school, waiting for her transfer to go through, which was almost complete. He remembered how Meng Shanshan once said it was her fault and that she'd doomed her grandpa. He recalled from that past life how she'd wept that her grandpa had thrown himself into danger to save her, breaking into her overrun high school and losing his life in the process. He swore to himself that this time he'd make up for her regret. He told the old man that moving in wasn't happening anymore, and the old man frowned, asking if he was backing out and insisting he couldn't. Jiang Xiaoyong said he should let him finish because by tomorrow, the world would turn into pure chaos and neither houses nor school registrations would matter anymore. He should come with him to pick up Meng Shanshan, and he'd arrange a safer place for both of them. The old man blinked in confusion, saying he didn't get what he meant at all. Jiang Xiaoyong figured he was too old to grasp it and wondered how to explain. He asked him if he knew what famine was, and the old man nodded. He then asked if he could imagine how horrific life became during famine, and the old man said he could, but doubted such a thing could happen now, saying even if it did, it wouldn't be too bad. Jiang Xiaoyong suddenly swept everything back into his spatial ring. The old man gasped as the supplies vanished, blurting out what kind of sorcery that was. Jiang Xiaoyong declared that he had superpowers and could also foresee the future, so if the old man wanted to live, and wanted Meng Shanshan to live, he'd better follow his lead from now on. He demanded to know where her school was. They rushed into his car. The old man's face was etched with worry, while Jiang Xiaoyong's focus locked entirely on the road. The sun dipped low as they pulled up at the school gates. Jiang Xiaoyong asked which class and dorm Meng Shanshan was in, and when the old man confirmed he knew, he said good, they needed to move fast. Meanwhile, Meng Shanshan had just stepped out of class when a pack of delinquent students cornered her. One of the girls barked an insult, complaining she didn't get what made Zhang Xiaocheng like her. Meng Shanshan replied that she already told him she didn't want to be with him and that he was the one pestering her. Another girl snapped if she was looking for excuses. The first one sneered, asking if she meant that he was the one chasing and she was rejecting. Suddenly, the old man's voice cut through, demanding what they were doing. One of the girls scoffed and called him her useless grandpa, while Meng Shanshan gasped, asking why he was there. The old man repeated his demand, telling them to let her go. One of the boys smirked and told him to stay out of it, saying it was between the young ones and wondering why an old man was sticking his nose in. The old man barked that they were spoiled brats and asked if their parents ever taught them manners, bullying a classmate like that. One of the guys spat an insult and told him to back off. Zhang Xiaoyong caught the guy's wrist mid-swing. He asked if they were trying to play gangsters already at their age. One of them jeered, asking where that broke old fool came from, and another mocked that he didn't know the little witch had a brother. Zhang Xiaoyong kicked the boy, sending him flying. He hit the ground with a harsh thud. One of the others cursed and asked if he trained, while another growled that they should take him together. Zhang Xiaoyong's glare froze them in place. They still surrounded him. A bat came swinging at his back. He ducked fast and dodged cleanly. He realized his physical boost had sharpened even his reflexes. He grabbed the attacker by the collar. He slammed him onto the concrete. The boy groaned and went limp. Another lunged with a knife from behind. Zhang Xiaoyong twisted aside and caught his arm. He kicked hard at the back of his legs. The boy crumpled, face hitting the ground. They all lay sprawled and unmoving. One of the girls stared wide-eyed at Zhang Xiaoyong, asking what he planned to do next. Zhang Xiaoyong smacked one of the girls, leaving her frozen in disbelief. He turned to the other girl, tossing out a question about whether she liked pulling hair, and she snapped back that he should let her go. She blurted out if that thing was a knife and what he planned to do with it. He swung the blade without a flicker of hesitation in his eyes. The other girl and Meng Shanshan gaped in shock. The girl dropped to her knees on the floor. She groaned about her hair, furious. She spat that he was a bastard, railing at him for daring to chop her hair and promising she wouldn't let him get away with it. He remarked that long hair would only drag her down, and she barked at him, demanding what he had just said. He replied that in a few days she'd get it, short hair might just save her life, and then turned to Meng Shanshan, telling her they should leave. She pressed, wondering where they were even going. Moments later, as the car rolled down the road, Meng Shanshan muttered if that meant she wasn't going to school anymore. Her grandpa claimed a massive famine was coming soon, so there was no point in classes. Survival came first. She shot back, exasperated, asking how many times she had to tell him to stop falling for those scam calls. She goaded him to admit how much he'd been scammed for this time, but he frowned and demanded what scam calls she was talking about, insisting he was telling the truth. While she grumbled that he always called it the truth whenever he got tricked, Zhang Xiaoyong silently vowed to keep her safe this time around. He then revealed that her grandpa wasn't being duped, because the famine story came from him. She blinked, asking who he was. He told her his name was Zhang Xiaoyong, and that she could just call him Brother Xiaoyong from now on. She thanked him for standing up to Sun Wei and the rest, and he brushed it off, saying she shouldn't worry about them since they probably didn't have long left anyway. She frowned, asking what he meant, and if the famine thing was even real. He confessed that the famine was just an excuse to make her grandpa listen, and when she muttered that she figured as much, because a famine in peaceful times was nonsense, he added that what was really coming was the apocalypse. She froze in shock. He told her it was about time and suggested she open her phone to check the short videos and news. If he was right, she'd start seeing signs. She hesitated, asking if he was serious, while the person in the video recited about swords and grudges, the west wind scattering leaves beneath the moon. Another voice said they'd never seen anyone with rabies biting people before. Then someone else mentioned the smog's return, wondering if it was just them or if it smelled weird this time. The next clip showed one person screaming at another, asking why they were biting like a dog, while the other admitted they didn't know why but couldn't stop, feeling awful and begging to be taken to a hospital. Jiang Xiaoyong remarked that just as he expected, the signs of the apocalypse had begun, and Meng Shanshan nervously asked if it was really happening. He explained that the next day would mark the start, when a toxic smog would blanket several provinces, including Province B, infecting living beings. Slowly, a huge portion of humanity would mutate into zombies. The rest wouldn't be spared either. Once they died, they'd join the ranks of the undead. He asked if he was right in assuming she knew what zombies were, and she muttered that of course she did, though it sounded insane. He told her that once it all started, tomorrow, the next day, or next week, she wouldn't think it so crazy. Then he cursed, realizing they were stuck in traffic. Naturally, the emergency lane was jammed too. Meng Shanshan's grandpa grumbled that if they stayed stuck, the zombies would catch them. But Jiang Xiaoyong waved it off, saying it wasn't that bad yet. He cursed inwardly though. Sure, the outbreak wouldn't spiral out of control for a few more days, but a small one could easily happen right there. Suddenly, a luxury car came barreling down the lane. It swerved sharply and cut them off. Jiang Xiaoyong slammed on the brakes. He cursed the idiot for cutting in without a signal and stealing into the emergency lane. He wasn't about to let that slide. He jerked the wheel to block the other car from slipping in. The driver tried again to wedge in. Jiang Xiaoyong cursed, snapping if he wasn't done yet and still wanted to push through. The guy kept forcing his way into the tiny gap between cars, but Jiang Xiaoyong refused to yield. The man screamed at him from his window, yet he didn't even glance his way. The grandpa muttered that the man looked rich and powerful. Maybe not someone they should cross, but Jiang Xiaoyong chuckled darkly that if the guy dared to step out and start something, he'd happily send him off early. A little later, Jiang Xiaoyong grumbled that it was finally over. They'd been stuck for almost an hour. Meng Shanshan suddenly warned him to watch out. The same car from before was speeding up behind them. He cursed again, saying they really couldn't let it go. The car swerved ahead and blocked their path. The grandpa sighed, pointing out that tailgating and brake checking were classic road rage, so he shouldn't stoop that low. Jiang Xiaoyong said maybe he'd have ignored it before, but with the apocalypse coming tomorrow, he didn't see the point in tolerating scum anymore. He didn't brake. He rammed straight into the other car's rear. The vehicle spun out and crashed against the roadside barrier. The driver exploded, shouting that he was a little punk. He yelled for the traffic police to grab the surveillance footage, demanding the license plate number. He swore he'd make sure Jiang Xiaoyong learned that there were some people you just couldn't mess with. It was already evening when Jiang Xiaoyong rolled into his fortress. The grandpa gawked as they stepped out of the car. He muttered that it was way too much. Jiang Xiaoyong remarked that they should rest up since starting tomorrow. Every day would grind them hard. The next morning, Jiang Xiaoyong lingered by his window overlooking the cityscape. Meng Shanshan mentioned that it had been ages since she'd slept that well, so skipping morning classes felt fantastic. Jiang Xiaoyong noted that since she was awake, she might as well tag along to check out their fortress. Moments later, Jiang Xiaoyong explained that the walls were made of reinforced concrete. The remote-controlled gate was solid steel, 3 centimeters thick, so whether it was people or zombies, nothing would break through without heavy firepower. He reminded them that unless he allowed it, no one except the 3 of them could step inside the fortress. Meng Shanshan pressed if they were just going to abandon survivors who made it out there. He waved her to follow. In the apocalypse, human nature twisted fast. The darkness in people's hearts would swell, and having pity would just get them killed. Meng Shanshan and her grandpa looked stunned again. Jiang Xiaoyong laid it out that if he wasn't around and survivors came begging, that buffer zone could serve as temporary shelter. But under no circumstances were they to let anyone in until he got back. Then he checked if they understood. They affirmed, and he added that next, he'd show them the food storage while explaining how rations would work. The trio stepped into the warehouse. Jiang Xiaoyong, walking ahead, quickly spun around to glance at the two. He then activated his mind's eye. He wondered if it was a token of trust and realized it was the first time it had appeared. He continued, saying that weapons were the top priority in the apocalypse. They had to keep them secure and never let anyone else seize control. The grandpa agreed it was absolutely necessary. Suddenly, the system pinged Jiang Xiaoyong that the major task former comrades had triggered, with Volume 1 requiring him to find and rescue his old comrade Zhang Qi for 20 reward points. He caught sight of the symbol outside. He figured it was perfect, since he had been wondering how to track his old teammates. He told them to remember every word he'd said because none of it could be broken, and Meng Shanshan questioned where he was heading. He replied that he was recruiting because they needed to build their team. Meanwhile, Zhang Qi was at a KTV joint. He was belting songs with his buddies. Moments later, one friend asked where the two were off to. The other said they were hitting the restroom. One friend teased that he'd pack some for them, making Zhang Qi curse as he shot back if the guy was waiting on someone or had kidney problems. The other snapped at him, and they cracked up. Zhang Qi and his buddy then wandered toward the restroom. Out of nowhere, he bumped into a woman. He quickly apologized, admitting it was his mistake. But the man beside her barked that he was some punk and asked if he even watched where he walked. Zhang Qi slammed into the wall. His buddy asked if he was fine. He then demanded what the man's problem was and why he hit him. The man cursed, growling that no one had ever dared talk back to him before. The friend groaned through the pain, demanding what he was doing, while Zhang Qi insisted it was his fault and begged him not to hit his friend. Across the room, a staff member was blowing his nose into a handkerchief. He cursed under his breath, thinking how cursed his luck was. He'd just recovered from stomach flu and now caught a cold. And while the thug boasted about teaching them a lesson, the staff sighed, figuring it was another brawl, and they'd never catch a break. He hurried over and urged them to calm down. The thug snarled, demanding if he dared talk back, if he even knew who he was, claiming even his boss wouldn't dare touch his shirt. The staff waved frantically at Zhang Qi and his buddy, whispering that they should scram since they couldn't afford that fight. The thug barked for him to call his boss right now, swearing he'd shut the whole place down while the staff kept pleading for calm. Zhang Qi and his buddy sprinted back to their room. Chen Chong joked if a dog chased them and why they were running like madmen. Their friend explained they'd just bumped into a drunk thug near the restroom, and he wanted to beat them up, but the server was clever enough to de-escalate. Otherwise, they'd be bruised up. Chen Chong cursed, demanding why they didn't fight back, and when their mechanical engineering class ever backed down. He told them to wait while he made a call, claiming he'd rally every guy in their department to take that punk down. Zhang Qi waved it off, telling him to stop acting so fierce since graduation was less than a year away, and he shouldn't stir trouble. Just play music and keep the party going. Moments later, the thug kicked their door open. His men poured in behind him, dragging the battered staff inside. Zhang Qi and his friends froze. The thug smirked that it was them, ordering his men to grab them. Zhang Qi and his group ducked low, covering their heads. The staff trembled in pain off to the side. Chen Chong barked if they dared let him make a call, but the thug sneered, asking who said he could talk. He smashed a bottle over his head. Zhang Qi's face went pale with worry. Outside, Zhang Xiaoyong pulled up in front of the KTV. He muttered that it figured. They were college kids, facing the end of the world, and they still had the nerve to sing.